Good morning, happy Friday, and welcome in to the number one Group of Five football podcast of all time. This is the Group of Five guys. If you're new here, our mission is to be the voice for the Group of Five football programs that the mainstream sports media absolutely will not be. We need your help to do that. We need you to follow us on all the social media platforms at Group of Five guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcasts. Subscribe to the channel. Give us a 5-star rating and a review. Tell your family and friends all about us. Or you can download for free the Varsity app brought to you by Learfield and listen to the show on there. Make sure you check out the Varsity app. On this episode, I am unhappy. Jeff is unhappy. We are going to talk about the game. We'll just leave it at that for now. That occurred last night in San Marcos versus Arizona State. We're going to talk about all these, a massive slate of games for Saturday and another big one Friday night here tonight. There's going to be plenty more. We're going to talk about the Mountain West shakeup that occurred yesterday as well. Hope you enjoy the show. Have you had it from somebody born and raised in Lafayette, Louisiana, at a tailgate? Doubt it.
I said Michael Pratt has got to show up and play, and boy did he. 394 yards, 4 touchdowns, 48 rushing yards on the ground, and another touchdown.
Projected getting drafted between the first and third round. Like, that's incredible. The wide receivers are absolutely stacked for the Group of Five.
Yeah, I really appreciate you do for the Group of Five programs, and I think it's great. I think we should get more of this. But you guys are on the forefront of this, and
I'm thankful for this. I'm glad that you're talking about the Group of Five because I think they get overlooked.
But it's a ton of fun to watch a guy go to the NFL from a Nevada or a Colorado State or a Middle Tennessee or an App State, and fans follow that kid.
Jeff, it keeps happening, and I'm upset. I'm a little bit distraught this morning. My intro was a little flustered. I just had my mic on mute. Why? We're going to talk about it later. I am getting to the point where I cannot handle these shoulda, woulda, coulda big games against these Power 4 opponents. It hurts me that now I am so emotionally attached to the Group of Five that I watch these games as if every damn team in the Group of Five is the Miami Heat or the Miami Dolphins. And I'm telling you, last night I was sitting there scrolling on my phone, just looking for something to cheer me up, the same way that I was when the LeBron James led Miami Heat lost to the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA Finals. I just was playing through it, all the things that went wrong. And I'm telling you, man, we got to talk about this Mountain West thing first. But dude, I don't know, man. I don't even know what to say anymore.
We're just so close. We're so close when we have these, especially these Power 4 matchups, and it just goes to show you, man. The margin for error is so it's so small. Inch by inch, play by play, like my good friend Al Pacino says in Any Given Sunday. But yeah, I had to go to bed after that. I just texted the group. I was like, "Good night. I'm going to bed." It was so close, man. It was a great game. They went toe to toe. They were right there. At one point, they were up 14, and we'll deep dive here in a minute because we got to talk about it. The Pac-12 is back. It's reborn, like a phoenix rising out of the ashes. Thought it was dead.
Well, and you're gonna have to have. What's that?
So we might have to change our name. Group of six guys.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is they're saying it's not even going to have they're not going to be a power conference. Which in theory is great for us. I mean, we'll take it. Yeah. Take some more teams. But
it's basically Mountain West 2.0.
Right, and that's and that's the thing where when I look at some of these conferences, you know, I understand the TV deals and all that, but other than that, I mean, is that it? Is that the only thing that's because you go back and you even look at the American Conference. It's just, I mean, that was Conference USA 15 years ago. You know what I mean? And it's just every team's moving quote unquote moving up, and in theory, it's the same conference. So I don't really understand. We know they're going to have to add more teams because they've got to get to 8. So now what are they at PAC? What are they at 6?
6.
I imagine Stanford and Cal might get the invite back.
Yeah, but the thing about that is they've already signed their rights to the ACC, and there's a lot of legal litigation once basically you sign that paperwork. It's not as easy as just jumping back into the previous conference. So I don't foresee those big brands coming back, not only from a litigation standpoint, but from a money standpoint. They're making so much more in the ACC and the Big 10 and the Big 12. And that's where I'm curious is, this starts in 2026. I believe there'll be a new TV deal, if I'm not mistaken. Then what is the Pac-12 valued at? Like, yeah, I get the name. Everybody's like, oh, well, the name, this, that. Like, yeah, I get it. But your big brands, USC, Oregon, UCLA, Stanford, Cal, Arizona, and not just in football and other sports, like they're gone. They're not coming back. So is your TV deal going to be the same deal that the Pac-12 had before? I wouldn't think so. Now, I don't know that for sure. We won't know that until that happens. And then you're talking about exit fees from the schools. The Pac-12 is going to have to pay, I want to say it's like $100 million or something. It's something crazy to the Mountain West for essentially poaching these teams because they've had a contract. So there's a lot of things that got to get worked out. I think it's a good move, I guess, for Boise and those schools. But to me, we talked to Chad Hassan from Flames Rising. The revenue sharing is going to happen. The university is going to be able to divvy up their funds from the university and be able to pay their student athletes. Now, there's a threshold of 23 million right now of schools that will be above that threshold who can do it, and schools that can do less than 23 million. Basically, that pot will be divvied up each year. Now, once that happens and goes into effect, you're going to have a massive reconstruction because you can't have a team that can afford $5 million a year in a conference with a team that can afford $30 million in a year. So, like, I guess this is cool that everybody's still trying to posture and move around, but once revenue sharing happens, all of it's going to have to be redone. So, and this doesn't go into effect till 2026, and I think it's going to happen in the next 2 years, maybe sooner, maybe a little bit later. But to me, it's all going to get changed up anyways, and I think they're going to have the same amount of access as they have now. Now they're talking about making this the best of the rest, so this conference will be the number one conference to get that 5th spot every year. But okay, let's say you bring in Tulane and Memphis and some of the other teams that are rumored from the American. You still have to win that conference. So
right.
If you build this quote unquote super conference of the group of 5, are you going to be able to win that conference? There's only one team that's going to be able to get it. So I don't know.
Yeah, and they're going to have to add more teams because what's the rule? They got to get to 8, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean that Tulane, Memphis, is that who it is? I'm surprised you didn't see UNLV thrown in that mix.
I read that them and Air Force were the two other ones from the Mountain West to be rumored.
See, I see UNLV before I see Air Force, just due to Vegas TV market, all that stuff.
NIL
and then getting
the
in
reason why too.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of opportunity. You do all your little conference meetings and stuff in Vegas, all that. But yeah, I mean, I don't see the draw though, right? Like if all the teams just go to the Pac-12, Is the TV deal going to be much better if it's all the same teams that were just in the Mountain West? That's kind of where I'm at with it. And 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 again, it's been shaken up so much every offseason, right? Last year San Diego State was gone. I mean, if you
Very
remember
true.
that, and then they ended up back. So, um, it just got to see how all this stuff plays out by 2026. Man, there's no telling what's going to happen by then, and who's going to try to force their way into who's going to pull an SMU and basically pay their own way and not have revenue coming for, what was it, 9 years?
Something like that. Almost a decade.
So you got to see how it all shakes out. I'm still in the camp that you're going to see it. See, I still kind of think that you're going to see the SEC and Big Ten go do their own thing, but they won't do that until they add a couple more. Like you'll see Florida State, Clemson, Miami, North Carolina, maybe. Like you'll see them move, and then you're going to have the ACC in the situation that the Pac-12 was in last year.
Well,
so I think some teams are going to get left out, and I think the fan bases are maybe a little ignorant to think that they're not getting left out.
Yeah, and those are the two schools that are in current litigation right now that are having issues getting out of the ACC because of their rights and all this stuff and the contract that they've signed. So I mean, we'll see what happens with it. But I think that's the scenario you're talking about that we've talked about for a while of the SEC and Big Ten breaking away is that revenue share line. That 23 million and above is going to be those teams because those universities can afford to do it. Now, I don't know what the endowments and the revenue generating ability of some of these other schools, mid to bottom tier ACC and Big 12, like I don't know if they can afford to do it 23 million or higher every single year. I don't know enough about their universities to know that number.
Yeah.
Whether they're going to make the cut or not. We'll just have to wait and see. But I'd imagine a lot of them can't. I mean, it's a lot of money from your university that's being divvied out to sports. And it goes along with how many presidents are on board. How many presidents are forward-thinking, athletic-driven presidents. Some might like it. Some might not. So, there's that factor into.
Well, Jeff, before we go into the game from last night, want to remind myself, because I'm struggling today. I'm not going to lie. Hot cup of Deca Gray coffee. I made the full pot again. Fridays are going to be tough for us because there's going to be the Thursday game every week, it seems. So they're going to be the tougher ones to get up early and get this thing going. But visit DecaGrayCoffee.com. Use our promo code GOFG, get you a hot cup, or I'm sorry, don't get you a hot cup, get you a bag of roast to order coffee. This one, I believe, I don't know which one I made today. I always put it on that delayed brew. So I make it the night before and then it sways. My alarm clock is coffee smell flowing through the house. It's pretty special.
I'm hooked on it, man. I got 3 different bags. I got the game day blend. This is the Group of 5 signature blend today. So go check it out. You get 10% off and free shipping on any order you put in there. And they've helped supported us this year. So we need you guys to go help support them. Go check them out at DecaGray.com.
Well, first of all, let's talk positive news. Gio Lopez was back.
He sure was.
South Alabama scored 100 points last night.
87 points. And we know they've been capable. And look, I mean, this is a team they're playing is not. They're a bottom
yeah,
FCS
a bad
school.
FCS team.
So,
yeah.
But this is what you want to do to these schools, right? Like you want to take care of business, you want to show out, you want to score a ton of points, and maybe this gets the negative mojo off their back because they've had some tough games. They get the win. Gio looked good. So I'm hoping this gets South Alabama rolling because I still believe that they are one of the better teams in the Sun Belt West. They just haven't been able to figure out and put it together. So maybe this is a win that gets them rolling.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And they look good, all facets of the game. He scored on special teams on a punt return. Gio Lopez was dialing. Again, that's exactly what you want to do. I don't know if you necessarily need to score 90 points, but you know, you want to. At some point, you're trying to get your team better too, right? So
Yeah.
you bring in your backups, and they're still doing it. At some point, you can't hold back too much to where you're not getting better.
Exactly.
You know, you're using that as an extra practice, an extra live action for some of the backups. So, shout out to South Alabama. Unfortunately, I don't think anybody was really watching that game because of the fantastic game in San Marcos. And that's what I want to say first. Let's talk about that first, Jeff. You know, you watch it on TV, and that's the one thing, right? I always talk about this. When you watch a group of 5 game on TV and it's ESPN's B team or C team or the local ESPN Plus team, and the crowd sounds like a high school game a lot when there's not a lot of people in the crowd and all you're hearing is like clapping and the occasional, crazy lady screaming. But let me tell you, man, there was a pop on TV. That crowd looked really good on TV. Every time they panned the stadium, it was packed. And they made a difference, man. I mean, you saw Arizona State a few times, down at their own goal line, having to take a timeout or jumping off sides. And those are the things that a crowd can do. And when you do that, when you get the delay a game, when you get the false start on first down, you're taking away half of the playbook from the other team. And that's what I think fans need to understand how crucial they are. And I mean, I was really, really proud to see that Texas State fan base. Really good to see it 2 games in a row now for them. And now here's the thing. Yes, they lost, but look, now they start playing in the conference. And they mentioned it on the broadcast a couple of times. You win the rest of them, especially if Arizona State can keep winning, which look, I realize Arizona State was picked to be at the bottom of the Big 12, but they just beat Mississippi State and beat them handily. The score didn't show it, but they were up like 30-3 in that game. Week before that, they beat Wyoming pretty damn good. So that appears to be a good team, and that Levitt kid at quarterback is just going to create problems for everybody because of his ability to run. Let's talk about the game, Jeff. What went wrong to go up 21-7? And I mean, we're texting each other like, I mean, this is starting to get ugly. I mean, they were just carving them up offensively, and defensively, obviously they were holding them. But what happened?
Well, in these games, it's not like your typical game. Like, you got to keep the foot on the gas. And when they went up 14 points, I was like, you gotta continue to go after Levitt, because they were sending pressure on early downs, and that was causing problems because when they were able to get to him, now you were getting 2nd and 15, 2nd and 20, and they kind of went away from it. They started doing it again in the second half, which was again effective. The issue that you run into, and this is what happened, was when they did it or they did not do it, Levitt was able to sit back in the pocket, which it seemed like 4 or 5 seconds. And when you have that, you have the ball that long as a quarterback, all your routes can fully develop, and it's just so hard for defensive backs to cover for that long. And then if it wasn't open, I mean, the kid, we knew he was a fantastic runner. He would just take off and get 15, 20. At one point, he ran up the ball for 40 yards at a clip. Like, those big explosive plays, and that's what we said previewing that game, was keep Levitt in the pocket and make him beat you with his arm. And he did that a couple times, and shout out to him. He proved that he's an effective thrower and not just a running quarterback. But when you did force him to do that, he did make a mistake, like the high throw that got tipped and you had an interception. So that was the game plan. They did a great job of keeping Scatabo, contained for the most part. He had 64 rushing yards, I think, or 62 and 2 touchdowns, but those were tough, hard-earned yards, and I thought that defense played great. You just, in certain situations, in big moments, he stepped up and made plays with his feet where you wish that defense would have just kept him contained. And I know it's difficult because you're a defensive end and you get excited. You're like, all right, I got him. I'm going full speed. And instead of shooting at the outside hip, you shoot at the inside hip, and he spins out and he makes a play with his feet. So these games end up becoming so close. It's a handful of plays, literally a handful of plays that change the outcome of the game. And then you throw on top of it questionable holding calls in big moments.
Oh boy.
Targeting calls that not very much different to the eye, but yet it's not targeting when it's Arizona State, but yet it's targeting when it's Texas State, and it's one of your leading defensive captains that calls the defense, and now he's out for the rest of the game. I'm not going to sit here and blame the refs because they still had every chance to win that game, and they didn't. But proud of their performance. I thought they showed out on the national stage. I mean, a 3-point loss, like you said. I think Arizona State is a really good team. But damn it, can we stop with these damn Big 12 refs? Like, somebody figure this out, because it stinks to high heaven. Collusion.
Well, I'll tell you when my spidey senses first went up, and that was the early holding call, and they didn't show the replay. And I was like, now, wait a second. That seems a little odd. We don't get a replay on that. And then the targeting, look, I tweeted about this. The targeting rule is the rule. I think the rule sucks, but it is the rule. The problem that I have with it is the inconsistency of how they call and what they call. I mean, both of those last night were overturned. So it wasn't like both of them, questionable play stand, right? We'll leave it. It was the first one, they threw the targeting and reviewed it and said no. And to me, I realize I'm extremely biased in this case. To me, it was way more egregious because it wasn't bang, bang. And he had the most atrocious tackling form I've ever seen, which is why he got hurdled later in the game, by the way, because he's literally running in there with his head down, like when a small child attempts to make a tackle in Pop Warner. The other one was just a hard hit, bang, bang play, and he led with his head a little bit. So to me, I think the problem is they're making the call based on how hard the guy gets hit. And they're not making the call. If it's going to be a penalty, right? To me, it should be a penalty on the defense when the defense like purposely does something wrong, purposely uses terrible tackling technique, right? If you're going to call a face mask, yeah, guy's technique was bad. His hand went too high. If you're going to call a horse collar, bad technique, he's pulling back on. So if you're going to call targeting, because in one scenario, a guy has horrendous form and leads with his head, and Perry was like already on the ground.
Yeah,
first, the second part of that. And then you are going to call a targeting when, it's a QB. I think that was it too. It was the quarterback. So God forbid, quarterback gets hit too hard. And so that was definitely questionable. I thought too, it was real interesting. I mean, did you hear that?
Yeah. What was that? Thunder?
Yeah, it was thunder. I think I about got struck by lightning here. Wow. If my power goes out, Jeff, you got about another half an hour to hold it down by yourself. But yeah, again, you don't want to bring the officials into it, but when you have, I mean, hell, even Dan Mullen and Matt Berry are like, oh yeah, that's a clear targeting. This will be a quick review. They bring in the rules expert. Yeah, good call. Definitely led with his head. Definitely this official. No foul. And then the other one, I don't know, man. I
got to chime in
on
the second one, because what pisses me off, and these are my guys. This is a quarterback. I think that's why it was called. I think it was called targeting. And what pisses me off is if you're going to scramble, take off, and run, you either slide and you become a defensive player, or you turn into a running back. And you can't pick and be like, yo, I'm going to run the ball, and then I'm going to initiate contact, and then at the last second, I'm going to purposely fall down to try and protect myself. When that hit comes in, that would have been shoulder and helmet into the midsection. But since last second, he's like, oh shit, right, I'm going to get hit, so I'm going to drop to a knee, and now my head becomes the main target of where that defensive tackler is. Like, I just think that, especially when it comes to quarterbacks, You either slide and give yourself up, or you become a running back at that point, and you take whatever licks comes your way, because that was not an egregious hit. Yes, it was head-to-head, but it was only head-to-head. Even if you just go in and protect the ball and drop your shoulder, his helmet's in his upper chest. But it's the last second where he starts to fall down real late, and now his head becomes in the target. I don't want to spend any more time on this than we have to, because I think there's other moments that we need to shout out. But damn it, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of these referees making key, like, affecting the game positively or negatively. Just call balls and strikes. You're an umpire for a reason. Just do that. And I don't know.
It's starting to. I'll tell you, man, it's starting to get so bad, in my opinion. It's looking like in Remember the Titans when they clearly have the agenda and Yost has to call out the referee and tell him he's going to the papers. I mean, that's how bad it's starting to become. But anyway, there was other parts. See, where Levitt beat Texas State with his feet. I was texting you, and maybe I'm wrong. I'm not a QB guy, but there were times I thought McLeod could have ran more. There was a few, 3rd and 5s where I think the middle of the field was open and he could have tucked it and run. Now, on several of those, he still completed the pass and got the first down. But there was a few where I was hoping, like, dude, just run it, bro. Get the first down, give yourself up, and let's move on. And I think if that threat was there more, I think that would have kept the defense on its feet a little bit more. Main thing, look, we've been talking about this for as long as we've been watching football, right? In these games, I mean, you have the game won. You're up 21-7, of course, but look, that was early, a long game. But then at the end of the game, right, you have a tie game. What did I text you, Jeff? Run the damn ball. Marty's going to break one. Well, they did that. You can't put the ball on the ground, man. You just can't. I mean,
not in that moment, not in that game.
I realize nobody's trying to fumble, but that's got to be priority number one at that point, man. Is you, and he got ahead. It was a big run too, and I'm gonna tell you, man, Texas State's offensive line is very good. I mean, anytime Arizona State tried to bring pressure, I mean, and that is why I think it's funny. Like, Levitt beat him with your feet because Texas State's D-line and their blitz packages they brought put so much pressure, he just had to take off. Where Texas State's O-line was so good that McLeod was comfortable back there. And then again, there was times when they only brought 4. This is where I'm saying, where they would only bring 4 and they would all be outside, keeping him in the pocket. He could have stepped up and took off, in my opinion. And then, they carved him up on those little out routes, those little hitch routes. It's crazy, man. Outside of Levitt running the ball, I mean, Texas State dominated that game. Can't put the ball on the ground.
No, you can't put it on the ground. Not in that key moment like that. And hate it for Marty. And he's kicking himself. And then you get the late pick. You're starting to press a little bit. McLeod was, and had the skinny post. You got to keep the safety with your eyes in the middle of the field and then drill it. He left it too much inside with too much air, and that safety was able to pick it off. But you know what? Shout out to the Bobcats, man. They showed up on national television, played their ass off. McLeod, other than that interception, really played out of his mind. And this is what he did the other day. He was smart. He ran when he needed to. Now, you can, I don't disagree with your point. Maybe he could have took off a little bit more, but I'm not going to fault a quarterback for trying to stay in the pocket, go through his progressions, and deliver a football. I'd rather have him that way than getting one read into his progression and just trying to run. And that's, Levitt did that a lot, but he's so much more athletic. He can get away with it because he can run away from guys. But shout out to the Bobcats for showing up. Joey Hobart, man, kid's a dog.
Oh yeah.
And a couple fast screens too. There where the blocker just either missed or got blown up, and the kid still was able to catch it to prevent a fumble. And then he has the big leap hurdle over the guy that should have been called for targeting, shouldn't even have been in the game. Man, they got dudes everywhere. Bo Sparks had a touchdown. Nice to see him get some action. Just we're close, man. The gap is not as far as people on the mainstream media scream that it is.
Yeah. And I'll say one more thing. And again, you never want to come come at play calling or anything, but two things. Number one, I'll say Arizona State. What do you do? Like, Jeff, you called plays in high school, didn't you?
Yeah, I was
Like-
high school offensive coordinator.
Like, Arizona State has that game won, and then they go and they throw the ball 3 times. Like, like, why? And then I did think at the end of the game, I thought when it got late, Texas State, like I said earlier, was carving them up on those quick little 10-yard, little hitch routes and little passes like that, little check down type stuff. And then they went away from it on the last 2 drives of the game. And I know they're trying for the home run, but they're throwing it deep. And then you throw it deep for an incompletion. And then you try that little pitch play, and it gets a loss of 5 or 6. And now the game's over, right? I mean, to me, it's just, it seems like, and this is across the board, maybe I'm not smart enough, but all game it's been working. And I feel like these coordinators go away from it. I also realize, right? Hey, it's been happening all game. Defense is going to key on that, but they've been keying on it more than just that last drive of the game. So I thought that was a little bit questionable. Several opportunities at the end, and then you even have that final chance to get it back one last time. And that Scatabo kid, was one of his biggest runs of the game. He gets stuffed up the middle and then he bounces it, but everybody got sucked inside and he gets whatever, he got 11 or 12 yards, first down, wins the game.
The last thing I'll say, and we'll get to the weekend slate because it's a full slate, is
a big one.
Be proud of what you did. Learn from your mistakes. I think this could be a game that could pay dividends down the road. If they're able to run the table in the Sun Belt Conference, they're going to have a really good shot of being in that playoff spot. Maybe this big game on a big stage, they learn from it if they make it to the playoff, because that's going to be another game like this where all it's going to take is 1 or 2 mistakes and you lose. So shout out to the Bobcats. Shout out to the crowd showing up, the students showing up on a Thursday night. Future is bright at Texas State.
Yeah. Can I add one final thing on that,
Yeah,
Jeff?
absolutely.
I'll tell you what's going to help them is they did that on national TV, and that was a great game, entertaining game on ESPN. We know how this committee operates, right? And they're going to remember, oh, they had an entertaining game on that Thursday night. And that's what they're going to remember because they watched. They had to watch it. And they're thinking, this is a good team. And you're competing with the NFL. And Twitter's blowing up. Like, if y'all are watching this sorry-ass Dolphins team play, flip it over to ESPN because we got a ball game. We got 2 good teams playing football. And they're going to remember that. And again, I think Dan Mullen said it. I realize it's tough. I don't agree with Matt Berry saying, it's easy the rest of the way, because if you run the table in the Sun Belt, I don't care what division or what side, you're still going to have to play, even if you think the West is bad, which we know South is pretty good. We know Louisiana's a lot better than they've been. We know Troy is still sitting there. And then in the East, you're going to have to beat somebody in a championship game also. So I don't think they have an easy path, as easy as we're led to believe. But if they run the table the rest of the way and have a 3-point loss to Arizona State,
It's a pretty good
questionable
resume.
calls in the third game of the season, I'd be tough to keep them out. That would be really tough to keep them out. Speaking of Thursday night football, I just got to get something off my chest, Jeff. I did not watch one snap of the Miami Dolphins, partly because it's on another damn streaming service. See, this is why I didn't want to do it, which I did cave, and I went with YouTube TV. I'm trying to figure it out. I don't like that you can't just change the channel. That's my thing. That's going to take some getting used to. But man, the Dolphins, it is so bad.
A lot of turmoil
And
in that
Tua,
locker room.
You go from, through about 15 weeks of the season last year, I thought this was a Super Bowl contending team. And then they just completely choke at the end of the year, completely no-show in Kansas City. Half their defense gets taken away in free agency. Tyreek Hill's getting arrested on his way to the games. Can't score points all of a sudden. Mike McDaniel, the genius, guy gets a curly perm and starts wearing his Miami Vice shades, and all of a sudden he can't call plays anymore. Tua, God bless him, He's got another concussion. But before that, I mean, my God, guy threw 3 picks. The Bills are their daddy. I'm going to sit here and admit it. I got neighbors that are Bills fans. I got friends texting me like Dolphins are bad. I'm like, good thing I'm watching the Bobcats because I ain't watching that. But and then Tua, what do you think, Jeff? He's got to retire at this point, right?
I think for his health and for his family's sake, he's got to hang it up. That was, that was not good.
And that was not even a.
I think it was the hitting his head on the ground is what happened.
Here's my thing. Here's my thing with targeting, right? You have the 2 targeting calls in the Texas State game. Nobody's hurt. Nobody's banged up. Nothing. Then you have Tua that runs into DeMar Hamlin of all people's like forearm, and then he hits his head on the grass and it puts him down. Now, I realize Tua is prone to it.
Yeah, there's something else going on. I think
he's got to hang it up, but he ain't good anyway. Good thing we just paid him $50 million. God, and that's something.
Nice
Never fails, dude. These guys get paid, and then all of a sudden they're not good anymore. I mean, but that's why you want the guaranteed contracts in case there's an injury. So more power to you, buddy. But he needs to hang it up. Anyway, Jeff, Friday, we've got another one. And I think we have the potential tonight to have another game like we had last night, because I think we have 2 really good teams. But UNLV goes to Kansas. 1 touchdown underdogs on the road. Going to Kansas, probably going to be another Big 12 crew.
Yeah, is it?
I like my odds here.
Who gets the crew? Is it the away team that gets the crew?
I don't.
Or is it just the bigger conference, or quote unquote bigger conference? I don't know. Figure this out.
I don't know, because you had a Big 12 crew. Oh yeah, well, at Tulane you had a Big 12 crew at Texas
I feel like
State.
It's the road team. So hopefully we get a Mountain West crew.
Boy, that'd be something. What's that on, FS1 or is that? It's
got
to be an
ESPN.
FS1 kind of game. Is it ESPN?
Yeah.
Wonder who's on that call.
Not sure. Kansas is ESPN's matchup predictor, 73% win percentage for tonight. Let me tell you, Sluka. Is this the game where he shows up and shows out on a national stage and people truly find out that Luka Doncic he's real? I'm telling you, man.
Boy, I like that we're getting 2 of the top teams
on national
so
stages.
far in the group of 5 national television weeknight game against a Power 4 opponent. And I think Kansas was ranked last week and they lost, but I think Arizona State's liable to start getting some votes in the top 25 too after this week. They're 3-0. So I think we got some good opportunities to show out here. Yeah, we know Sluka, we know Marion, we know Odom. They've been holding it back a little bit with the UNLV, right? I mean, Sluka ain't even throwing the ball yet. He's gonna have to throw it in this one. But I'm looking forward to watching UNLV. I'm looking forward to really watching them, because I haven't been able to really, really watch yet this year. So I want to see how good. I mean, that's look, you can't say a team's better than the other if you don't watch them. So right. I got to really sit there and watch this one tonight, and I can't wait for it.
Yeah, it's going to be a great game. I mean, you got all the names. We've talked about Sluka. He's a leading rusher on this team as well. But Ricky White, man, he's a big-time receiver. Had a great game last week. But he's going to have to be that guy. He's going to have to go up and make big plays. But the matchup that I'm looking for is this UNLV defense led by Jackson Woodard and against the Kansas offense. I think this is the matchup to watch. Can they get enough pressure on Daniels? He has 4 interceptions on the year already, so he's liable to give it up. And UNLV's got 3 picks on the season. Canelon's got 2 of them. So maybe that's the matchup there. They can get some pressure on him, force him to make early throws before he wants to, and get a couple turnovers. We know this offense is going to score, but I want to see the defense versus that Kansas offense and the offensive line of UNLV on the front of this Jayhawk defense. Those are the 2 matchups for me that I want to watch, because if you can win those 2 matchups, UNLV is going to win this game. Yeah,
and I think I want to pick them. I mean, We already lost it, Jeff, but we had the little 3-leg parlay in, didn't we?
I'm doubling down. We had Texas State money line, UNLV money line, and Memphis money line. I'm picking up the last 2 legs. I'm already in the hole. What's
Oh, no.
what's
Jeff,
another?
You got a problem, my
Yeah,
friend.
I've had a big problem. But
I
yeah,
got a big problem too. Anytime you get San Marcos involved, you got a big problem.
I'm doubling down. I'm going UNLV, Memphis, and I'm going to sprinkle in another team there. Maybe go spread on the 3rd route, but for Saturday.
Really?
Yeah, we got to win it all back. All it takes is one time, Sprouse, and you win it all back.
I'll tell you, we got to keep an eye on the other game tonight. Arizona at Kansas State. See, now we're to the point where you got to root for Arizona State the rest of the way. And you got to root for Kansas State the rest of the way. And you're going to want to root. How about us rooting for all these Big 12 teams after this weekend? That's going to be something. But you want to keep an eye on Arizona at Kansas State. Kansas State number 14 right now. Boy, if they keep winning, that's going to start looking better and better for Tulane. So I don't, it's a long way to go. Can you imagine you have 3 or 4 one-loss teams and all their losses like by a touchdown to a ranked team due to poor officiating? I mean, look out UNLV for might be some phantom calls coming your way tonight, I imagine. Even if you do get a Mountain West crew. I don't know, man.
Well, here's the deal for them now. Now they're in the driver's seat, right? Because if they get the win against Kansas and they can make a run in the Mountain West, they have a Houston win. They'll have a Kansas win.
Mm-hmm.
And if they run the table, as long as Boise ends up making it to the Mountain West Championship game, they'll have a win against Boise. So that's a long road. A lot of things can happen between now and the end of the season, but UNLV has everything they want right in front of them. They just got to handle their business.
Yep. It'd be interesting, too, because they're on the road. So it'd be even more impressive if it's a road win or road close loss. I mean, God bless. So far, man, Boise State, Tulane, Texas State, somebody's going to get it done for us. And I know NIU already got it done.
Memphis.
We got we have a ton of Power 4 versus Group of 5 games this week. We're going to go through these relatively quickly. A couple of them we'll spend some time on. Oklahoma State going to Tulsa. Surprised they're going to Tulsa. Unfortunately for Tulsa, I imagine that's going to be a pretty heavy black and orange crowd showing up there. I don't think they have much of a chance against Oklahoma State.
Pretty good team.
Arkansas State at Michigan. Listen, neither of those teams have been what we thought. Michigan looked okay against Fresno State. That game was way closer than the score indicated, but then they got smoked by Texas. Not real sure about them. Arkansas State has been in close games all the way, but they're 2-0. I'll tell you, I like this line, Jeff. Central Michigan at Illinois, 3 touchdown spread. I think Central Michigan is. Was it you that was high on Central Michigan preseason?
I was high because they had a great offensive line, and the quarterback was the main question. And then after week 1, Joe Labas looked like he was that dude. And then not after they go down to FIU, South Florida, and get steamrolled. So I don't really know what to think about him. Got to be consistent.
Yeah,
got to be consistent.
Well, if he doesn't throw 5 interceptions, they'll be in this game.
Yeah, exactly.
But if he does, it's gonna get ugly quick. And Illinois, they're the ones that beat Kansas last week. So, preseason would have told you this is the biggest game in the Group of 5 for the season. Memphis going down, still a big game. Memphis going down to Tallahassee. What I don't like about this is Florida State is coming off of a bye, number 1, after losing 2 straight games. So this is where typically you'll see some adjustments made. Would not be shocked if we get a different quarterback in that game. It scares me a little bit. And I hate it because the narrative is going to be what it is. Look, Florida State sucks and Memphis still couldn't beat them. But I think Florida State is going to be better along the way. Now, if they roll out DJ Uiagalelei again,
please roll him out,
buddy. I think Memphis is going to have a day. But I do like Memphis's offense. Seth Hennigan, this is his chance. National stage, noon kickoff. We took the Tigers money line, so we got to roll with it, Jeff.
Yeah, no question. We're going to roll with that money line bet on another parlay. But yeah, I don't like the way the narrative is shaping up. It worries me a little bit. You mentioned coming off the bye. But man, Memphis has been able to run the ball. They've looked good. And I always like a team that's able to control the line of scrimmage and run the ball, especially, we talk about that offensive line unit and Xavier Hill, like being one of the best units in the group of 5. They're going to need it. They're going to need it against Florida State because they're not going to want to come, Florida State's going to come out. They're at home, fired up, wanting to get a win. So, Seth Hennigan, this is your time, man. Step up and take the moment.
Interesting for you. This line opened up at 3.5. It's now 6.5 in favor of Florida State. So
I like that. I always like betting against, against the public.
But give me Mario Anderson on a big game. They got to turn on that Georgia Tech tape and figure out what they did on the O-line to get that run game going because they tore them up. So yeah, power and zone. Hell, we know Buster Faulkner real well. He only runs 6 plays, inside zone, outside zone, and power. I mean, it ain't anything fancy. Just put your hand in the dirt and win your one-on-ones. La Tech going to NC State. I don't think La Tech has too much of a shot there. The last edition, potentially, of the Victory Bell, Jeff. Cincinnati in Oxford at Miami. Miami, a little home dog for you. And honestly, man, this is a must-win for Miami as far as playoffs go. Not a conference game or anything, but they've got to win. That defense has got to show up. Need to see Gabbert. He's got to step up, man. And he's got to be what we think he's capable of, and he's got to be undeniably the best quarterback out there if they want to win this thing.
Yeah, and if they're not able to run the ball, he's going to have to be all of that. So, they haven't looked great on the ground. They're coming off a bye, so that's nice. You get an extra week of prep. Anybody that was banged up in that week 1 game, you get them hopefully back or at least feeling pretty good. Body should be fresh. But yeah, if they can't run the ball, he's going to have to make plays for this offense. So that's what I want to see from them. Be able to at least have an effective ground game to supplement the pass.
I give you one that I like. I like the underdog here, and that's North Texas going to Texas Tech. I like North Texas to be able to – we know they can score points. Line moved a little bit in favor of North Texas. Both teams are going to try to throw this thing all over the place, so look for a shootout. But I think North Texas, wow, can score with anybody in the country. So I think look for a shootout, and I think they cover. Whether they win the game or not, it's going to be one of these ones where whichever team goes 3 and out first loses. But I like North Texas to cover that.
I agree, and you can some of these FanDuels. ESPN, you can adjust that line, get some alternate spreads in there. You bump that up to about 11.5, 12. Love that number. Love that number for a gambling perspective. It's going to be whoever does have the ball last or whoever has a 3 and out. That's just the way it is. Chandler Morris is the 2nd ranked quarterback in the country as far as passing yards go. Had a great week 1, had a solid week 2, turned it over a little bit in week 2, so you don't like to see that. But they got dudes, man, on the outside. They can go. They can score with anybody. Eric Morris does a great job running this offense. They're going to use tempo, which I love against Texas Tech. So I don't know if they're a win. It wouldn't shock me if they end up sneaking out a win here, but I love covering that number.
North Texas really, really staying under the radar right now. They're on dating back to last year, on a 4-game winning streak. So they got that thing going right now. They're one of the ones. We talked about all the Texas teams. UTEP so far not looking the part. UTSA not really looking the part. Texas State looks the part. Maybe North Texas is the other one out there in the great state of Texas. Ball State going to Miami, Florida. Gonna be tough. Seems like the Hurricanes are pretty good this year. Ball State, they're
not sure they have the athletes to keep up.
All right. Can Tulane go into new SEC country? Let me tell you, this early, I mean, there's an early afternoon slate this week. I mean, there are some big games, but this is the 3:30 game, isn't it? The Tulane Oklahoma game.
It is.
I think it's the first 3:30 kickoff.
Yeah, 3:30 Eastern, 2:30
3:30
my
for
time.
me. Yeah. 2 touchdown dogs on the road.
Love that number.
I do too. Here's the thing: this thing could go two ways, and I think it's going to go the latter. But the first way it could go is Tulane's still kicking themselves over last week, and they just come out flat. The way I think it's going to go is they're pissed, and I think John Summerall is pissed. And I imagine this because Summerall said what he said in the press conference post game about the refs and about questionable calls, all that stuff, not getting an explanation, all that. We know him well enough to know he's not letting his players talk about that or think about that. So I can almost promise you that they showed up Sunday with pads on. And look, physical against Kansas State, going to be a little more physical against Oklahoma. So I think that they're going to be locked in, and they have a message to be sent. Now, Oklahoma, still not real sure about them, but they kind of have a message to be sent too, that they belong in this SEC, this new SEC. Give me Tulane to cover. I'm scared they're going to get beat in another heartbreaker, though.
Yeah, there's a couple things that concern me about this game, and the main thing is I don't like that you just had a hurricane come up through New Orleans. All week they were kind of back and forth between the Saints facility, the Superdome, practicing. It's not your normal week of preparation.
Right.
So, but if there's anybody that's going to have a situation like this and to still be locked in, it's John Summerall. I think he's going to have these guys ready to go. I agree with you, Sprouse. I think he's pissed. For him to pretty much publicly call out the Big 12 officiating crew.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he normally wears stuff pretty tight to the chest, so I think he's unhappy about that. I think his team feels that. So I think they're going to be locked in, ready to go. What I love about this is young Darian Mensah. He made a couple big mistakes last week. He seems like a kid who's a quick learner. He's going to put that behind him. When that situation comes up again, he's not going to make that same mistake twice. The other thing that I love about it is Oklahoma starts their SEC schedule next week with Tennessee at home. If you don't think that they're more concerned about Tennessee than they are with Tulane, you're mistaken. They're going to be looking ahead to that game. They can say all what they want about, we can't overlook anybody. I bet you those kids on that roster are, because Tennessee is ranked number 7th in the country right now. And they're coming into Norman next week. That's on their mind, number one. Number two, UNLV handily beat Houston. And I don't, it's different matchup. It's hard really to compare, but beat Houston top to bottom, a dominant performance. Oklahoma beat them 16-12 last week. So just a little nugget of information for you. I love the 14 points. Even you can bump it up a little bit. 14.5 covers your 2 touchdowns there. 15. I'm taking the Green Wave, man. I'm going to supplement. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take, because we lost Texas State last night. I'm going Tulane money line, Memphis money line, and UNLV money line tonight. Book it.
Really? You got a wheelbarrow to carry those nuts around, Jeff? My God,
Randy Marsh on South Park.
Now, do you
Buffalo Soldier?
Do you think that? I'll tell you another thing I like is I think Mensa got any of the big game jitters out. They had a big one. Now they're going on the road. It's going to be the
hostile environment.
It's going to be the most hostile place he's played in, but I like him. Nevada going to Minnesota. Going to be interesting. Not real sure.
Sneaky game
on
that
either
I
of those
like, bro.
teams
Sneaky game.
Yeah. Sneaky game. Troy at Iowa. Earlier in the year, I would have said take the under, no matter what it is.
Tough road for Troy.
Troy's going to have to take a small step back to take some more steps forward. You don't worry about Troy. Don't give up on Troy. They'll be fine. Give Coach Parker a year or two to get everything in place. I know everybody's going to say, well, Coach Summerall won the conference his first year. Yeah, relax. Different scenario.
Ain't too many of those running around the country, let me tell you.
No, there's not. UAB at Arkansas. Boy, UAB, I think the old Trent Dilfer seat's getting a little warm.
It is.
A little bit warm. It was a surprising hire. A little bit of a, I don't want to call it an experimental hire, right? I know Trent Dilfer. I mean, look, the guy knows ball one way or another. But
and he coached high school ball here in Nashville and had success, but that's high school.
Yeah, and well, they haven't recruited like fantastic in Birmingham, and that's what you got to do in a place like that. That's a tough market too. Utah at Utah State,
big rivalry.
Yeah, a big rivalry. A lot of early season rivalry games this week. It seems like Utah's quarterback is hurt. He's out. Cam Rising, lacerated hand, I think it was. I don't know what happened there. So have no idea who their backup is or what he's all about. I don't know if that line has moved a ton. I had it at 20.
I don't think it's moved much.
Still hadn't moved. It might be one to take. Might be one to take Utah State there. UTSA going to Texas. Listen, UTSA, after this game, you got to get back locked in. Don't allow yourself to get beat badly twice in a row and hang up on this season. It's a long way to go. Really long way to go. But Texas is looking like they're a playoff team. So I think it could be rough for UTSA. Vandy at Georgia State. Vandy got a little squad this year, it seems like, huh?
Are you talking about the Aggies of Vanderbilt? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Isn't that something?
Pavia is out there saying that he's the best quarterback in the SEC and all this stuff. And
boy, he's a cocky little fella, isn't he?
He's a cocky little prick.
He kind of is. But he's a pretty good player. He is a good player. I think that's going to be tough for Georgia State.
I like it. I like his mojo, man. But yeah, I think I think Vandy's just physically, bigger and got a playmaker at quarterback. So
a lot of games. New Mexico going to Auburn. Now, New Mexico State went to Auburn last year and beat them pretty bad. Auburn, that Hugh Freeze experiment. Boy, I'll tell you. See, man, sometimes you just need to stay where you're at, Hugh. Not that Liberty didn't get an upgrade with Chadwell, but it's like, man, dude, I think the Auburn fans are, I'm very close to Auburn. The Auburn fans are an impatient bunch. I mean, they tried to fire Brian Harsin before he even got there because they didn't like the hire. So they
impatient bunch.
Now Hugh Freeze is the guy they wanted. So they'll give him a little more time, right?
Yeah.
It's like, so, but they can't be losing to Cal and then come back and not look good against New Mexico. I think Auburn's going to win that one pretty handily. I like this next one, Jeff. Toledo at Mississippi State in Starkville. Cowbells, one of the most annoying traditions in all of college football. But I think Toledo, Toledo's been flying under the radar a bit too. Even preseason, we didn't have them as, we had them as one of the contenders. But typically Toledo's like the contender, the favorite.
Shout out Jason Kendall, man. And Tucker Gleason's having a sneaky good season.
Yep.
Almost 400 yards, 6 touchdowns on the year, 0 interceptions. Love that number. He's been taking care of the football. They can go down there and he can continue to do that and not turn it over. They're gonna have a chance.
Yeah, I like that. Air Force going to Baylor, man. Air Force has got to figure something out. They might have to make a change at QB or something, but I realize they lost a bunch, but man, since that 8-0 start last year, they have just not looked good at all. Colorado at Colorado State, Fort Collins. Surprised game day didn't make an appearance.
What is it? The Rocky Mountain Showdown or something like that? I love that.
Something like that. Something like that. Man, I think if Colorado State can get this done, it might shut up the national media on Colorado forever. But if they don't, good Lord, they're going to be back. But I don't know. There's so many things that go into this game. Number one, Colorado State, tale of two different games, right? I mean, they go to Texas, they couldn't even score a point, and then last week they scored a bunch of points. Last year they scored a bunch of points on this Colorado team. To me, this Colorado team is certainly not better than they were last year. It might be a little bit worse. I think that their culture and from a mental standpoint, I think they're worse. I mean, it honestly pisses me off. It pisses me off that they are so vocal in the media, and you got Shiloh Sanders, saying they're going to smoke Nebraska during the coin flip, and then they just get blown out, and then the first thing they do is start pointing fingers at the offensive line. Look, the offensive line is not good, but could you imagine playing offensive line for that team? Number one, your head coach he don't even hardly talk to anybody except for his son and Travis Hunter.
I don't even know their names.
And yeah, I mean, he said that in the damn press conference last year. And then your quarterback immediately after the game is praising Nebraska's offensive line while sort of throwing them under the bus. While at the same time, like, look, yeah, your O-line's not protecting you, but you're also holding the ball too damn long, Shedeur. So, but I just, you get in the huddle with that, right?
Not a good vibe.
Guys that you could tell they just don't like each other. I mean, that's half of this thing. And so I hope Colorado State I think they'll win. I really do think they'll win. Preseason, I would have told you they were going to blow them out. I do like Colorado State to win this game. I think BFN and Horton are going to put on a show. Fort Collins, I hope, is absolutely rocking, and I think it will be Canvas Stadium. I think, Coach Norvell is ready to put the blue-collar mindset on display against these kids. So you're going to miss Mo, you're going to miss Mo Camara. You're going to miss some of the guys on that defense you had last year. But give me Colorado State there.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go. Is you're missing the pressure you had a year ago with Camara. So if I'm Norvell on this defense, send it early at Sanders. If they beat you one-on-one over the top, they beat you. But your strength is the back end with those safeties in your defensive secondary. So send the pressure early, send a message, and then let your offense go out there and score, because I think they can. They got the weapons to do it. Can't wait for this game. Rocky Mountain Showdown. Not only is this a big game, it's a big game for bragging rights in that state. It's a big game for recruiting in that state. And if Colorado State gets it done, I tell you what, the wheels have fallen off in Boulder, and they'll be heads rolling, I think.
I'll tell you the best part about that game, Jeff, is that it's not a 10 p.m. kickoff this year.
Oh, I kind of like that. That's the best.
Yeah, I did too, except for we were in Troy.
I know.
We were fighting it. Eyes were fighting to stay awake for that one. Kent State going to Tennessee, probably going to be ugly. Rice at Houston, little Houston inner city battle. The battle for Paul Wall. The battle for Mike Jones, I might even call it. Yeah. Both have kind of underachieved so far this year. I like Rice there. I want to see Dean Connors get going a little bit. Go back and watch that UNLV Houston game. They did it in every facet of the game. So look for Rice to try to do that. San Diego State at Cal. There you go. Now all these new Pac-12 teams. Let's see. Are they distracted? Let's see what they can do. How about that? How about San Diego State at Cal? Two California teams, and one of them plays in the Pacific Conference, and one of them plays in the Atlantic Conference. How about that for a little fun fact there? But Cal seems to be a little better this year. We'll see. San Diego State looked really good in week 1, not so great in week 2. We shall see. BYU at Wyoming. Man, Wyoming is I don't know if it's they're missing Craig Bowl there, but Wyoming just doesn't seem like they've got the same mentality or the same team. I mean, they've looked bad on the road, at home, all the above. Couple non-conference group of 5 games. Coastal going to Temple. Give me Coastal.
Yeah, I
Give me
think they
Coastal
roll.
big. This is one of the big ones, and I'm so unsure about this. App State at ECU. ECU, although they have won, hasn't really necessarily looked great. App State just looked so bad against Clemson, but I really don't know where to take this game.
I think that Sean Clark will have. I think that he's going to have them ready. I really do. I just think that when you have that much continuity coming back, you should be able to compete week in and week out. And I know last week was embarrassing for a lot of the App State faithful, but that was Clemson coming off of an ass whipping from Georgia, and you got to factor in some of that. What I love about this is ESPN and the public are on ECU. Little 60-40 split almost, and I love a 60-40 split. Give me App State, and I think they come out and they make a statement because ECU's defense is pretty good. They have some players on defense, and I like their running back, but I am not sold on Jake Garcia at all.
Yeah.
Too many interceptions for me. Has 7 on the year. If you don't think that App State's going to get after him and be able to get turnovers, if he's willing to put it up there, you're mistaken. Give me App State. I think they win. I think they cover 2.5. Give me App State all day.
I like it. Place should be rocking.
Absolutely. It
should be absolutely rocking. I want ECU. There's nothing more I want than ECU to be good because we haven't been there yet. And I really want to get up there. Hey, Jeff, Shula Bowl.
Shula Bowl, baby.
I mean, he might need to start calling this the Sprouse Bowl. Florida International at Florida Atlantic. You know, FAU's pretty much dominated this series for a little while now. I think FIU is the better team this year. I really do. I really, really do. This game used to be played at Lockhart Stadium. You remember Lockhart Stadium? Did you ever go when we were at Middle? Did you ever go to FAU before their new stadium?
I believe my first year we played at that stadium because the second time around, my senior year, was at the new stadium.
Yeah, that stadium was a real piece. They've demolished it since and rebuilt it, and it's now where the Miami FC, the David Beckhams, play. And then FAU's got their fancy on-campus stadium. But this is an underrated rivalry. Both teams have, kind of been down a bit lately. I mean, FAU had their little run with Lane Kiffin. I think they're both trying to build. I think FAU is sort of hovering around this purgatory of, we don't know if we're going to be really good. We moved to the American. We're struggling a little bit. And then FIU, I think, is progressing. But give me the Panthers in the Shula Bowl on the road.
Yeah, I like FIU as well. And they got them at 5.5-point dogs. I think they win out. As long as they can, build off of the huge win last week against Central Michigan.
Yep.
Come on, guys. Yep. You guys got the pieces. You got a great quarterback in Keywan Jenkins. That defense looks to be the part. Show up, win the Shula Bowl, carry that momentum into conference.
Well, and look, they intercepted Central Michigan five times.
5 times.
5-time player of the week, Yost. And Cam Fancher, we know, has struggled with turnovers. So
didn't like him in Marshall.
Look out there. Gardner Webb going to Charlotte. Charlotte better get in the win column, but that's a sneaky one right there now.
Shout out to Normulance. They'll be there.
Yeah. South Florida at Southern Miss. Surprised that this is only a 12-point spread. I think South Florida is going to come in there and put them away quickly because this is the lighter end of what they've got. And, what they had last week and what they've got coming. So now the other part of that is, are they beat up after playing Bama? That's been a recipe. All these teams that have to play Bama and Georgia early, they lose guys, they come away just physically and mentally beat up. So we'll see how that goes. Jack State at Eastern Michigan. Give me Eastern Michigan. Jack State, I was guilty of it, but they don't have great quarterback play right now. Kennesaw going to San Jose State. Talk about some travel there. San Jose State,
sneaky
early team that looks pretty good. Hawaii going to Sam Houston. I like Sam Houston there. That's a long way for Hawaii. I've been saying for 2 years that Sam Houston is a pretty good club. So give me Sam Houston. New Mexico State going to Fresno. Could this be a potential future Pac-12 game? Could this be a future Mountain West versus Pac-12 game? I don't know. Give me the Bulldogs. And then UMass going to Buffalo. Buffalo better look out. UMass isn't too bad.
Yeah, and
this
Buffalo
year.
normally they have a game early on that they struggle with out of conference.
Yeah.
Maybe this is it. I don't know.
Yeah. You got a couple FCS games. You got Colgate going to Akron. Akron better win that one. Bethune-Cookman going up to Western Michigan. Western Michigan should handle that. And then South Carolina State going to Statesboro. Look for Georgia Southern to get on a little win streak here.
Yep.
Only 2 conference games, Jeff. First one, UTEP at Liberty. Both teams sort of trying to figure out what they're going to be this year. UTEP just has not been good. Liberty hasn't looked great, but they've won. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Liberty at home, they get back. Chadwell's been pretty vocal about the way they've been playing. Suspended a couple guys for the actions last week. I think Liberty rolls. I love what Scotty Walden's doing over there. Bad loss last week at home with, it said 41,000 in the Sun Bowl. Hate to have that, but he took it. He took ownership of it, took responsibility, and was like, "We got to perform better. You guys showed out for us, and we didn't handle our part." So, I don't think they get it done against Liberty. I think Liberty's just got too much firepower on that squad.
And it is time, Jeff. 100 Miles of Hate, rivalry game, live on ESPN Plus. I can't believe it's not been picked up by something, though. That's crazy to me. But Western Kentucky going to middle. You got some weather up there. We've had weather here in Georgia all day yesterday. We got it the rest of the weekend, it seems. That's something to look out for across the country now with weather. Anything in the southeast is pretty wet at the moment. So rivalry game. Western Kentucky has dominated as of late. 7.5-point favorites at middle. I hope there's not weather because I think you might actually get a really good crowd at middle for this game.
Yeah.
For what should be the first big crowd in a long time there. Man, Jeff, they can't block anybody, dude. I mean, they just can't do it, and I don't understand it. Western Kentucky hasn't looked great, but I hate it. I don't trust anything about the Blue Raiders right now. I mean, I'm wearing a shirt. It's about the only thing I trust from the Blue Raiders right now.
Well, the good thing about it is that it's a rivalry game, and everyone should be up for this game. Everybody should be fired up. I hate that the weather's more than likely going to be pretty crappy, but TJ Finley hadn't looked great. Only 1 touchdown, 2 picks on the year, and the Blue Raiders have Vadiato. He's been really the only thing on that offense that's been able to work. Outside a couple of their receivers as well, but that's due in part because of Vadiato. 2 offensive linemen got hurt in week 1. They were already thin and a lot of question marks on that offense already. But damn it, if I'm not, I'm going Blue Raiders, boys. We got to. I'm in a bet with the Topper Talk podcast, Western Kentucky podcast, and whoever the winner is. So if Middle wins, their guy, they're supposed to find a former Western Kentucky football player, has to buy a Middle Tennessee State shirt, wear it, take a picture, and donate to their NIL collective. Vice versa.
Wow.
If Western wins, I have to buy a Western shirt, wear it, take a picture, post it, and I'm donating to their NIL collective. So keep an eye out for that. Should be a fun little thing we're doing. But come on, Blue Raiders, damn it! It's time to win. And win against your damn rival. Show up.
It is.
Vadiato, be the difference. Holden Willis on the outside. Gamarian Carter, Amari Kelly. You got the weapons to do it. I don't care if it's a damn monsoon out there. Show up and throw that shit all over the yard and get a damn win.
Jeff, you know what you ought to do to really stick it to the Hilltoppers?
What you got?
You ought to, when you I'm not going to say when, but if you donate to their collective, you ought to donate to their facility and put your damn name on something over there. The
Well,
Jeff Murphy.
how much do you think I'm donating to their collective?
I don't know. I don't know.
Can I buy a brick for $100?
How much does it cost to put a brick down on a little walkway somewhere? You know what I mean? That way when they're doing their Hilltopper walk every Saturday, they just got to walk right past it. Jeff Murphy, quarterback, Middle Tennessee. You know, you got to do it.
We got to get the win, man. They need this win. This is a big win because they have Duke and Memphis after this. Tough stretch of the schedule. Get after TJ Finley. He does not like pressure in his face, and he hates late changing coverages. Hold your card tight to the chest, change late, send pressure up the middle, go get him.
Yeah, it sounds good. I just don't think I don't know. I don't like it at all. I think the Hilltoppers are going to win this game, Jeff.
Damn,
sorry,
Sprouse.
Sorry to say it. I'll be rooting for the Raiders, no doubt about it. I'll have it up on my phone on my ESPN Plus, my new YouTube TV. I still got to figure out how to watch 4 games at once, though. That's something I hadn't quite figured it out.
It's a good thing out there called YouTube, Sprouse. It's pretty educational. You can search anything on the interwebs, and
so you YouTube how to YouTube
how to YouTube
wow.
TV 4 games.
That is big time. Well, Jeff, it's been a pleasure, my friend, as always.
Whoa, hold on, pal. We got
voicemails. Oh my God, we got a bunch too.
Steeple's been waiting all week to play 2 of his voicemails. And shout out to the chat that's in there. We've had a great crew this morning. Morgan Post's in there, Tyler Arendt, Mr. Juan's World, DCU fan. My brother Mike Murphy's in there. Shout out. See you next week, Mike, here in Murfreesboro. Matthew Epley's in there. Saw a couple other names early in the chat, but Jack Chasanoff. If you're listening on Twitter or Facebook, come over to the YouTube live chat. There's a great back and forth every morning. And then if you got something to say, want to leave a voicemail, 615-900-4286. Give us your hottest take, whatever you got. It's open all week long. Even after a tough loss against Clemson, you can call in the parking lot like our boy Stu's Right did earlier in the week. So we got, 5 voicemails. And normally, it's a 3-minute time limit. Try and get it in between that. Typically, I don't take 2 calls, but Steeple PC is an OG on this show. He gets the privileges. So let's lead off with his.
Hey, Group of 5 guys, how you doing? This is Steeple _PC _51, aka Steeple Daddy 51. I'm coming on here first. I'd like to send out my condolences to my boy Stu Wright. Unfortunately, you ran into a buzzsaw. I have to tell you guys that the Power 4 is finally catching on. They're not taking our guys in the G5 lightly anymore. They're actually preparing for whatever G5 team they're playing instead of looking beyond them and preparing for the other team that they're supposed to play. They're starting to do their homework on our guys. So, unfortunately, one of the power teams I thought App State, you ran into a buzzsaw. My condolences, Stu. On the same note, congratulations to my boy, Creme Brulee. And heard from you in a minute. But I got to give you your props, and I've always been on that bandwagon just like Jeff Murphy. Texas State is for real, guys. And if you go back and listen, if I did not tell you guys, Coastal Carolina is going to play Texas State for the Sun Belt Championship. Mark it down. I keep telling y'all, you're underestimating Coastal Carolina. They did what they had to do against a smaller school. Vasco is still showing that he's perfect. Wide receivers catching the ball. Defense is phenomenal. Man, I'm not Zach Green. I'm not going to give you all the stats and stuff like that. All I'm going to give y'all guys is a quick monologue and I'm going to feel sorry for a lot of them. Hey, Troy, Zach, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I guess I'm still have my feelings about last year, winning again and just going through everything. guys, I am simply just I'm here to give my condolences and to congratulate some of you guys. Old Dominion, God, I expected more. James Madison, y'all slipping. You may be 2-0, but they're not. That last win against Gardner-Webb did not look good. So we're coming. So my boy, Louisiana, Terry Johnson, y'all did okay. You're looking good. But Coastal is for real. Chunks up. Jeff, I hate to do this to you. I know y'all don't want 2 calls, but I had to give a shout out to a couple of people. I've been talking basically about the Sun Belt, but it's just a couple of things that was on my mind once I hung up. One, Tulane got robbed. I absolutely got robbed. I watched that game, pulling for somebody out of that conference. I really was surprised, and I was keeping up with the injustice that was happening against the G5, just to make sure that they didn't win. Got to give a shout out to NIU, Northern Illinois. That was phenomenal. Excellent job. That guy was really an excellent coach. I saw him 2 years ago. Thought he did a very good job. They fell off 1 year, and now he's making a great comeback. He's a very, very good coach. I hope he don't get snatched up. But, money talks and bullshit walks. So, he'll probably bail out of there. But if I was at school, I'll lock him in forever. Hey, man, got to give a shout out to Georgia Southern. Great comeback, beating the Nevada team that beat Troy. I mean, proof is in the pudding how the Sun Belt always bounce back. Monroe, damn, they're doing a phenomenal job. Arkansas State, really didn't like y'all because I thought y'all was cheap shots artists down there, but hey, it is what it is. You're winning. That's the program. That's the best thing. The guy did absolutely amazing. 255 yards and 2 touchdowns. Looked good. That looked good all the way around. And shout out to my boy, Tate Rodemaker, playing for Southern Miss, transfer from Florida State. Him and his dad and his mom, we went to school together. Love them guys. Southern Miss is my dark horse. Hoping they end up pulling it out. Hope him and Texas State fight for that last spot. So I see them. So coaches can see them in Sun Belt Championship. Once again, chunks up.
Appreciate you, Steeple.
I'll tell you, man, Thomas Hammock at NIU, he's an alum. So that could he almost in a way reminds me of like just because he's an alum and I don't know if he's the type of guy that would even want to go somewhere else. Almost like a Sean Clark. And this is a perfect example of why you don't panic when you have a down season.
That's right.
And look, and let's also not overreact. They could still have a down season this year. You know what I mean? This is not beating Notre Dame doesn't mean you win 10 games. You know what I mean? And we talked about it in the preseason with him. And the year they won the conference, they won a bunch of close games. The year they finished almost last in the conference, they lost a bunch of close games. So, especially in these balanced conferences, it's going to be like that. I will say this too. One other thing on NIU, because it reminded me of it. He went on, I think, one of the Barstool shows, but he was talking about sharing with Marcus Freeman, like some of the stuff they scouted him on, like what they saw in film to let him beat it. And everybody was all, oh my God, why would he do that? First of all, coaches talk. Second of all, if you're NIU, you want Notre Dame to win out.
That's it.
And so that's what you're going to start, right? You're going to start seeing that. I can promise you this, when Kansas State plays somebody, John Summerall's going to pick up that phone if he knows something about that team.
Yeah.
Because now when these resumes start intertwining and head-to-head start coming into play, like you're going to want these teams that you either lost to or beat to win the rest of the way.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, let's keep it rolling. We got a Tulane fan calling in. Couldn't really catch his name, but we'll get to it.
Group of 5 guys. Terry Johnson calling here.
That's the wrong voicemail, Terry.
Going to the gym.
Terry is not a Tulane fan.
No, he's
boys take on the Forks tonight. Hopefully they get it done. And guys, what do you think about this whole Mountain West, Pac-12 merger thing? Like, does the Pac-12 become another power conference? Are they another group of 5 conference or group of 6 conference or whatever it's going to be? I mean, what happened to the Mountain West? I know, like, Fresno State, Boise, Colorado State, I think it's also UNLV, I think, are also going to be there. Like, what happens? Like, does this automatic bowl tie-in or not automatic playoff tie-in? Like, is it going to go to the Pac-12 teams or whatever they're still going to be called? Like, and also, like, I understand, Washington State and Oregon State. Like, shout out to them for, like, trying to survive and rebuild the Pac-12 because they got, let's be honest, they got fucked over. And, they're trying to, get more money back and trying to rebuild the Pac-12 brand. So shout out to them. But what does that do to the Mountain West? Does it weaken the group of 5? Does it strengthen all the other conferences? Are they a power? It's just a weird predicament to where I don't know. Should I even be a fan of the Pac-12 if they add Boise and Fresno and everybody? Are they a group of 5 conference? Are they a power conference? I just don't know what to think of it because I don't know how the bowl tie-in and how the playoff tie-in comes of it and what the media says of it. It's weird. And, I don't know. I'm just worried about the whole college football thing because is Tulane going to get added to the Pac-12? Our Tulane, Memphis, USF, are they going to try to go to the Pac-12? Do they want to pay for those media costs, those costs of transferring, athletics, all the way to Boise and California every year? That just seems like a weird predicament to be in. If you just want to join a bigger conference, I mean, you have to pay for those travel costs. I don't know, man. I don't know. Plus, I can't wait for the UNLV game and also the UNLV in Kansas. Question. Another question. Do you guys just think UNLV they have a lot of good money? They have the Fertitta facility, which was bought by the Fertitta brothers, the previous owners of the UFC. Dana White's friend. So they have that facility, that indoor facility, bought by them. Should the Fertitta brothers just invest in an on-campus stadium for the UNLV football team? Because they use Allegiant Stadium, which is a great stadium. But do you think since they just got Vegas money, ask the Fertitta brothers for the UFC money to make an on-campus stadium? Just a question. Just a question. But God bless Group of 5. God bless Group of 5 guys. Go Cajuns.
I kind of like them playing in Allegiant myself.
Yeah, I do. It could be bad.
There's one city that I think it works.
Yeah, and it could be bad if they weren't winning. Then that's when you would see this huge stadium. But I don't know. I've never been to Vegas, so I don't know how much room they got or how close they are to campus or any of that. So.
Yeah, I don't know where you'd build it. Their stadiums. I mean, it's not far from the Strip, so I don't exactly know how that worked. Maybe there's an old basketball stadium or something. There's a couple big buildings over there. I don't know exactly what they are, but I think they like it. I think the players like it. It's a top-notch stadium that most kids don't get the opportunity to play in. So I think that's a driving factor for recruiting. But
I think it keeps their relationship with the Raiders too.
That's exactly right too.
Which has been cool.
Yeah. So appreciate you, Terry. We'll keep it moving. Found the Tulane voicemail, so we'll get to that one next.
Hey, Group of 5 guys. This is Juice. I'm a fan of the Tulane Green Wave, man. I was pretty disappointed by our loss against Kansas State, but I was really impressed with the team, and I think we got screwed over, and I'm kind of worried about Oklahoma, but anything's possible. I've seen something today on the news about the more conference expansion, some stuff with the Pac-12, and I was wanting to get y'all's take on it. Like, as a Group of 5 team fan, would you?
I'm not hearing anything, Jeff.
Like,
I don't know if you got a voicemail going.
Our guys to get into some conference like that where anything could happen, or do you think we should be happy where we are right now in the Group of 5 conference? And, man, I'm hoping Tulane could win out our conference. I'm kind of, anxious to see what happens with us for the rest of the season and stuff like that. But anyway, I just wanted to give y'all a holler and see what's cracking. All right. See what happens with us for the rest of the season and stuff like that. But anyway, I just wanted to give y'all a holler.
Appreciate it. Juice, I think, was his name. I think that's what he said on there. And yeah, I mean, we talked about the expansion earlier in the episode. So if you missed that, I know Terry asked about that too. Go check that out at the beginning of the show. It's not my favorite thing. I don't think it does much because you're going to have revenue sharing coming up down the pike in the next year or two. I think that's going to shuffle everything up. We'll just have to wait and see about that. Or the Mountain West gets swallowed by the Pac-12 maybe eventually. So we'll see.
Yeah. Love that New Orleans accent, though. I just caught the end of that voicemail. But
I don't know why you couldn't hear it. That's weird.
That was weird. Yeah.
Let's get to our next one. Our good friend Morgan Post.
Hey, fellas. Morgan Post. Sorry this is a bit late, but hope it gets let me get some airtime on the next show. But sorry, it's a little out of sequence. Anyway, just telling about the Tulane K-State game. Man, I've never seen so many bad calls all at once in one game. Just kind of pathetic. Soft OPI call, and then you have the no call on clear defensive pass interference on the very next play, fade route into Alex Bauman in the corner of the end zone. Anyway, we shot ourselves in the foot too many times, so I get it. It's not just the refs. It hurts, though, because the way we played, we absolutely could and should have won that game. Anyway, getting excited for this coming week against OU. I'm actually flying out there. I'll be at the game. Darian Mensah, man, he is the truth. I'd put him against any of the, freshman rising QBs out in the country. He can make every kind of throw. His passing yards against K-State, Michael Pratt only eclipsed that once in the conference championship game against Central Florida. So he's easily the best QB talent we've had outside of Michael Pratt. And between him, Mekhi Hughes, Mario Williams, who no one can cover yet, out any kind of route. So really, really impressed with how we started this season. I think we can pull out the win against OU. They're down something like 4 of their top 5 wide receivers and got a banged up offensive line. So let's go get them. Roll wave. Screw the refs. Love you guys. Bye.
Appreciate it, Morgan. I hope you guys get it done too, pal.
I do too. I asked in the chat, but Morgan, if you're still on, you guys good with the weather over there? And if anybody's from Terry, if you're on, anybody in Louisiana or New Orleans, hope you guys are good with the weather. I'll say this about Mensah. Boy, you better hope he stays there for 4 years, man. Yeah. You give me that coaching staff and Mensah for the next 4 years.
And Hughes.
Give me Tulane, no matter what conference they're in, no matter who they're playing, give me that team. And you want to talk about that recruiting pitch. I mean, you want to talk about Summerall in a living room to a big time wide receiver. This is your quarterback. He ain't going nowhere. And I'm your head coach, and I ain't going nowhere. Now, hopefully both of those are true.
Yeah, well, they should have the resource and the NIL collective to do it. So hopefully they can get that done and build something special down there in New Orleans.
What else we got, Jeff?
That's it.
Is that it? That's it. Well, hey, this is fun. Sorry I tried to jump off early to go practice my YouTube TV. Because, see, man, I'm telling you, I was trying to do it last night, Jeff, and there's no back. You can't put last channel button on there. Like, that's the stuff that kills me. That's one of the main reasons why I'm stuck with
coming out
cable. And if I have 4 games, how easy is it to go sound on one, switch the sound on another? You know what I'm saying? Now, what I really want to do is I'm going to try to angle my patio TV to where I can open the back window. I can sit in a chair, have the main TV, patio TV through the window, and then have Western and Middle on my phone because it's on ESPN Plus, for God's sakes.
When you figure it out, let me know.
Hey, thanks, Mike Murphy. You know, Mike Murphy gets me. He's just like me. He understands it.
Hey, 4:30 a.m. West Coast even time checking in.
Mike Murphy out there in California, 4:30 a.m. Oh man. Hey, anyway, guys, we appreciate y'all, man. I'm going to tell you, we were a little nervous about this 3 days a week, this first thing in the morning thing, about what it would do to the sort of this group of 5 community I like to think we've helped build. I mean, hell, you got Liberty fans rooting for Texas State now on Thursday nights. I'm telling you, this group, you guys in this chat, you guys that call and leave these voicemails, this is building a community of people. And eventually, these assholes at ESPN are not going to be able to ignore us. So we got to keep this up. But thank you guys for jumping on this chat every morning with us. I enjoy it more than anything else, even though I'm tired and pissed normally on a Monday, a Wednesday, Friday morning. But guys, make sure you hit the follow button on all the socials. Make sure if you're on here, you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that like button and share it with your family and friends. You can go to group5guys.com and get you some Group of Five Guys merch. Jeff, I'm sure we'll talk later. I'm sure we'll talk tonight during the UNLV game. And boy, do we have a slate of football tomorrow. Have a great weekend, everybody.